What's going on, everyone? Badger here. Should have liked and sub, and let's get into this. Confession time. I like Zachary Levi, not like that, but I think he's a good actor. I always have. Fun, entertaining, all the way back in the Chuck days on TV. Yvonne Stronsky, ooh, and yeah, so I like him. He had quite the awakening. Obviously, I think by his own admission, he had succumbed to a little bit of just believing everything on social media before becoming completely based and red pilled. Not the Tate red pill, the actual good red pill. And now he's sort of making the circuit talking about, I mean, he's an RFK and a Trump supporter now, so that should show you the journey that he's gone on. He went on with Matt Walsh, I know, perpetual old man Matt Walsh. Talked about a lot of different things. He addressed Shazam and why he thinks it failed. Now, I'll add some points that he misses, but he says, where do I start? Man, the internet's just going to come after me again. Listen, superhero fatigue, kinda. That's one. We're just inundated with so many superhero movies. I think that after a while, people are kind of like, okay, I've seen this. And we had moments in our movie that were repetitive or had been in other movies. He acknowledged there's nothing new under the sun. Also, you didn't have intimidating villains. You maybe should have changed your performance a little bit when the actual Billy Batson was more mature than your transform part. There was many reasons. Also, everyone knew there was no point to go and see that movie, that nothing's going to count until Superman comes out. So we all knew that it was just the last vestiges of a dying cinematic universe. And so that's why people really didn't go to see that one. He then also talks about people personally attacking him. This was around this time where he was starting to become based, and point out a little bit more about vaccines and other such things. People wanted to tear me apart for it anyway, because there's a lot of people on the internet and that's all they do. That's their whole MO. That's where they find their identity. That's where they find their power. The toxic trolls. It's so sad that online, specifically social media, empower people in the way, because it's so toxic and destructive for everyone involved, particularly them, because they could be doing something more. Yeah, I mean, okay, so people mean bad. That's his other one. There's a lot of DC itself as a comic book studio. There's all this weird fandom war between Marvel and DC, and then even within each fandom, there's like fractions and factions of those fandoms. All that stuff got really crazy. Yeah, there's the Snyder Bros and the James Gunn defenders. There's the normies. There's just a little bit of both. He says, I don't know at the end of the day, all the pieces just came together in order for it to be the best film, the very, very best film that it could have been, or that we got word. Basically, they did what they could. But at the end of the day, I have to lean back and be like, all right, God, if that's what you saw for the... I don't like that either. Take responsibility for your own actions, but okay. He talks about the trend of remaking and sequels and how that's been around since the 90s and early 2000s. Even then, there was at the beginning of this trend, let's just go reboot this long old series into a movie. That was the big thing back in the late 90s into the 2000s. That was kind of the beginning of the reboots. What he's missing is those were at least done with some attempt at quality and to actually capture the spirit of the original. And he mentioned superhero fatigue. If all those superhero fatigue, if all those superhero movies had been written well, casted well, and acted well, they would have made money. They'd have made money. Talks about doesn't believe, he's not saying that you should not remake, just that you gotta pick and choose. I think there's been some really cool sequels and really cool reimaginings and reboots. It's when that is becoming more and more, as you're saying, more and more that's being drawn from. So eventually that you need new and original, but you can't get new and original because we've got those Hollywood execs, and that's where he starts talking about them. One of the things that what he says sort of confirms is that you're hearing a lot of younger executives can't move forward in their career because all the older executives aren't retiring. They're holding onto the reins. So any executive that would take a shot every time I say executive, every exec that would have the power and the gumption to try something new doesn't have the power yet because all the old stodgy ones are holding on and they just want to do proven things. So he says Hollywood executives had more vision, more creativity, more balls to be able to take big swings and be like, no, we're going to go do this thing. And they're like, but no one knows what that is. And it's like, that's the point. We're going to make something entirely fresh and new. We're going to blow people's minds and we'll advertise it. We'll do good marketing for it so people understand, or whatever it is. We do not have that anymore. And as he points out, do some of those things blow up in the faces? Yes, but they still had the chutzpah to go like, let's go and actually try to be this industry that we pretend to be, which is creative and therefore creating. And that's the issue. We all know they stopped creating because they were capitulating to agendas and demands. Now he goes on and he says, there's some lovely good people on both sides. He talks about agenda and how that might be a part of it. But really, it just comes down to them trying to, hey, what's popular? What's the new big idea? What's not going to get us canceled? What's going to attract people? But it's all just sophisticated imposter syndrome, really. You can see here, certainly Hollywood is massively complicit in it, talking about agenda. But I don't know that these agendas even necessarily start in Hollywood. Some of them might, but some of them are thinking, oh, what's the hip, cool thing to do? What are we going to do so that people like us and that we don't get canceled? And then down here, you can see here that lastly, finishing off, he says, this is why a lot of the new executives are terrified because they don't know what to do. And they just go, bring back that old TV show that people really like. And we got to the point where we didn't think the ratings were good enough to even keep going and doing that. Yeah, I mean, almost every major TV show from the 80s and 90s, Quantum Break, all of it has all been rebooted or sequelized or soft reboots or whatever. That well has dried up. It's time for maybe some of these executives to retire, return to meritocracy and profitability, fiduciary responsibility. Yeah, let you know how that goes. Anyway, let me know what you think about Zachary's comments. Did you even watch Shazam 2? Because I still haven't. Anyway, let me know what you think. Make sure to like, share, and sub. If you have done that, thank you. If you're going to do that, thank you. And
well, bye.